Where is the money flowing in the resource sector? Kai Hoffmann knows. The CEO of Ornick is also hosting a major resource show next week, Deutsche Goldmesse. Kai, welcome back to Kitco.
Oh, it's great to see you again, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Uh, Help us out. You are tracking financings. In your last report, you highlighted three major financings. That would be the Artemis, the Marathon, and the Skeena, all at 50 million or above. What does it signify? What do these financings mean, and what do they say about the health of the sector?
I think the sector is doing quite well. And if you look at the three companies you mentioned, they're all later stage as well. So there's a lot of money flowing into development stage companies, Skeena, Marathon, and Artemis, which are developing projects. There are two BC companies as well, so two Canadian focused companies, and three Canadian focused companies, two in BC and one in the Maritimes. And it is healthy to see that. And I've given a presentation recently where I looked at the average deal size for this year, and we're at a very high average per deal financed, which is really important to see because that means you are creating value. We're not seeing a lot of those smaller financings that keep the lights on financings, as we called them back in 2015 or 2018-19 as well. So that means money is flowing into deals that are creating value, that are drilling, that are developing projects, and hopefully returns a positive capital to shareholders.
You said that's a reflection of the health on the industry, and you said that these were later stage companies. How are we doing at the grassroots or the early stage companies?
Not too bad. Not too bad. You'd think it'd be worse, but I think if companies go out with good management teams and a good idea, they can raise their money. There is risk capital out there. It's not as abundant as you might think. Like new management teams still struggle to raise money. Still takes a bit longer. But if you're in the proper jurisdiction, I think Canadian companies have it very easy right now still, and that is very positive. And we're seeing quite a few of those transactions happening, listing on the CSE, T6V, Millennial Silver comes to mind, Hoffmann Resources, and a couple others that had no problem raising their 2 million or even more money recently.
I assume all the commodities are up, but has there been any metal that's had a clear? Is there any metal that's been clearly running away with it?
Like in terms of investor excitement, not just in financing excitement, I think copper has been getting a lot of attention. We've seen Filo Mining release a massive hole last week. That's been getting a lot of attention. So companies or investors are looking at more gold copper plays. In particular, McEwen Mining is up quite nicely this year, mostly driven by their untapped asset there in Argentina, Los Azules, because they have a major copper component. So I think that I'd say that is a driving force there.
Despite these big numbers, we are underinvested in the resource space.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Although, like looking at the numbers in comparison, like 2011 was extremely frothy. We're not there on the bottom level yet. Meaning, the bigger companies are raising their money. We are developing projects further. We could always raise more, right? So we're at 1850 gold or 1867, I think today gold, and I think I'd like to see more money flowing into the sector. But to be quite honest, I wouldn't know even where to allocate it properly to create value.
Stepping away from financings, you've conducted a number of live interviews with juniors. How many live interviews have you conducted?
We were just at episode 182 today, so we've done quite a few. And those are just the long form ones. We've done a lot of breaking news specials as well with companies helping them get the word out and talk about and interpret those results.
Uh, you've talked to so many of these people. Again, it's impressive on a live format. Take the pulse for us. How well is the sector doing overall? You've talked to all of these people. How would you assess the junior space?
It is a bit tricky, quite honestly, because if companies come always on and they're always happy, they're always positive. Nobody ever talks about the negative on a live interview, right? So the message is always a bit tainted. But I've interviewed quite a few like very small juniors. We have Discovery Thursday on Thursdays, obviously, where we interview companies that are around 10 million market cap. Sometimes they're a little bigger, but they're not discovered yet. And there's still opportunity out there as well. It's not like all the stocks have run yet and the market has dried up. There's no more opportunity. I think there are still a lot of opportunities out there. Visionary Gold, for example, is raising $3.5 million right now. That are just about to drill in Wyoming, for example. So, and we highlighted them a few weeks ago. Those opportunities still exist, and you can still find those. And that's sort of what I'm getting out of the SF Live interviews as well. Of course, you get the later stage producers as well, but I think the juniors, there's still optimism, and there's room for growth as well.
You did mention, is there any interest, or do you see that there's more people that are going to would you say, more well-developed jurisdictions such as your North America?
Well, you see odd news. Like this week, we had news out of Etc. Gold out of Ghana, where the army marched in and burnt down 16 excavators. So I can't blame people for staying in tier one jurisdictions. Although political risk, even in tier one jurisdictions, is tricky. right? In BC, First Nations, the land claims have not been 100% settled yet. It is always a case by case basis. Nevada, now the same US with the new government in place, wouldn't make it 100% jurisdiction. Of course, it is ranked as tier one. Scandinavia. So I think that's where the dollars will be flowing. Peru, Chile are having, let's call them tax issues right now about taxation of their base metal projects and production. So it's not that straightforward. That's why, like as retail investors, they naturally flock to places where they don't have to at least worry about that part.
We are recording this on a heady day. We are seeing it is on Wednesday, and we've seen a rotation out of cryptos and into precious metals, with gold taking a real run up to almost, I believe, 1900. How does the precious metals look to you for the rest of the year, Kai?
Well, I have to say I'm bullish, but I'm also happy where we're at right now. Right, I'm not going to make a $2,100 price prediction or something. As I said, I'm happy with 1850 because if you look at all the mid-tier producers, and we've been highlighting that on our Twitter channel, for example, quite a few companies they are producing massive amounts of free cash flow at this level. Like I think Yamana is sitting at $1.4 billion of working capital right now, and that's after they acquired Wasamac from Monarch, for example, right? And that's what I'm looking at. So I'm in the junior space, so I'm happy with where we're at because there is capital available to buy the companies out that I own, and that's my goal, of course, as an investor personally as well. And that's why I'm happy with that. But overall, like I think it is trending up. We'll have to see how the real rates look like, inflation versus 10-year bonds. I think that's what you're alluding at. I can't really make a prediction there because every word that Janet Yellen says is going to move the stock or the market in either direction. If she talks about tapering, the markets crash. If she talks about, nah, that was just a joke, that was taken out of context, markets rally again. So it's, we got to take that day by day. So I have a hard time making a prediction there. But overall, given where we're at in the markets, I'm very positive.
So when you see these elevated prices and looking at the junior markets, it's just a matter of the majors having their hands forced in terms of just doing more mergers and acquisitions.
I hope so, right? I hope generalist investor pressure also starts building up. We see Newmont having a 3.5% dividend, but they're also buying back stock. Barrick is sitting on over $5.5 billion in cash, despite still having $5.5 billion worth of debt, but that's not due tomorrow. So I'm sure there's going to be mounting investor pressure saying, okay, you have to buy something. You need to fill up that pipeline. And then there's that debate, growth versus value. Should they actually raise debt to buy something bigger? Debt is fairly cheap right now, but we don't know how much longer. So unfortunately, the gold miners always do the wrong thing at the wrong time. They save money when they should be raising debt, and they raise debt when it's expensive. So we'll have to see how they go. But that's what I'm looking at, and I hope the generalist investor put some more pressure on them because they're sitting on so much cash, and that pipeline is slowly drying up. Although I'm not too worried because if they do recalculate their reserve base at a higher gold price, I think they'll still be looking good in terms of pipeline.
Taking it back to British Columbia and your mention of Newmont, of course, they did do the takeout of GT Gold up in the Golden Triangle I just earlier in the month. Lastly, let's just finish with Deutsche Gold Messe. What is the event and what can people look forward to if they register?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. So May 24th and 25th, Monday, Tuesday. Monday is, of course, Victoria Day here in Canada, but it's a 2-day event focused on our German audience mostly. We have live translation of all presentations into German as well. But we've got a great lineup of 10 keynote speakers. We got Ross Beatty, Keith Neumeyer, Lee Courier. Also, it's Gold Messe, but it's not exclusively gold. We have a bit of a holistic approach. We have uranium companies, silver companies as well presenting. So I think there's a good mix for everybody. We got million-ounce gold producers to down to the 10 million market cap junior explorer as well. So I think there should be a sweet spot for everybody.
We don't focus on it enough, but really, what is the interest in the junior space and the precious metal space in Germany?
It is extremely high. Gold and precious metals have been imprinted into our DNA back in the 1920s, of course, back during the hyperinflation. And of course, investors are chasing returns. And there's always been that affinity for safe haven investments and real assets. So gold mining stocks or precious metal stocks, base metal stocks as well, have always been on high on the radar.
Kai, thanks for speaking with Kitco.
Michael, thanks for having me. It was great.
I've been speaking with the CEO of Ornick and Soar Financial, Kai Hoffmann. My name is Michael McRae, and you are watching Kitco News.